Welcome, friends. This is Under the Arch Sports. I'm Eric,
And I'm David.
and today we're going to preview Missouri Tigers basketball season. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on Facebook and Instagram. So, David, here we are. Basketball season has snuck up on us, and the 2021-2022 season is here.
Yeah, and there's a lot of unknown, especially with the Mizzou basketball team. There's
Oh,
not a
man.
lot coming out news wise on the team in general before the season has started, so it's really hard to gauge what the season's going to look like. They've had two scrimmages, one against Creighton and one against Oklahoma State, and the rumor was they tied Creighton 61-61, and they beat Oklahoma State by something like 13, but again, those are just rumors because there's been no actual reports on it. So, again, a lot of unknowns. Honestly, I have no idea how this team's going to look this year.
Yeah, we were gathering information to do this video, and even as we were about to start, we were talking about how we felt wholly unprepared. And the unknown with this team is the reason for that. You look at the roster, you have five freshmen, you have four transfers. The only players who played meaningful minutes who are returning are Javon Pickett and Kobe Brown. You've got Jordan Wilmore, who's returning. He played, one game for like 10 minutes or something. And then you've got Sean Gordon, who showed up over the winter break last season, but didn't play. So it's almost an entirely new roster, making it completely impossible to predict what's going to happen this season. But that's exactly what we're about to get into. So here we go. David, taking a look at this roster of new guys, what do you see?
Well, I see a really good core of freshmen coming in, actually. Uh, right at the top with coming straight from Kickapoo High School in Springfield was Anton Brookshire. That was a huge get for Mizzou.
Yeah.
I believe he was a Missouri All-American. Uh, and there's a lot of expectations for his play. Also, we had a really good pickup with Yaya Akita coming from De Smet. Now, last year he tore his ACL, but he was rated one of the top 25 centers in the class. So I think he's going to be a lot of fun to watch, too. But again, we're talking a lot of freshmen who need to develop. So it really is going to come down to our uh, junior college transfers or just transfers in general on how they fill in the gaps and hopefully provide some experience for this team.
Yeah, when you look at the transfers coming in, I think that's where you're going to find Mizzou's go-to scorer. That's going to be Jerron Coleman, goes by Boogie, best nickname maybe in the history of Mizzou basketball. Boogie Coleman. He is a guard, 6'5". He's a transfer from Ball State, and he's what Mizzou has been missing the past few years. He is a scorer, both getting to the lane, but also from outside. He shot 42% from three. So that's huge for Missouri to have that. And I think he's going to be kind of the go-to guy when Missouri needs a basket. And you got other guys coming in. Interestingly, Kobe Brown's younger brother, Caleb, is another one of the freshmen coming in. And it's just so unpredictable. And one thing when you've got a lot of brand new guys that really helps things out is a nice, easy schedule that helps you ease into something like this. And David, Mizzou does not have that at all.
They have about 3 games and then bam, they're hitting the ground running. Um, Real quick before we get into that, I wanted to mention the other Kickapoo player coming from Springfield was 6'9" forward Trevon Brazil.
Brazil.
Brazil, and he's going to be a lot of fun too. One thing I'll say about our team this year is there is a lot of size on it, so it's going to be real interesting to see how we play defensively. But getting into the schedule, Mizzou starts off with Central Michigan, Kansas City, Northern Illinois, and then they go right into the Jacksonville Classic tournament with SMU and potentially Florida State or Loyola. Uh, After that, non-conference play, you're talking Wichita State, Paul Quinn College. They go to Liberty and play them. Then you have Eastern Illinois, and then our good old rivalry against Kansas. So that's going to
Yeah.
be interesting. However,
Border
it's
War
at
is back.
yeah. However, that game's at Kansas this year. Then they have Utah at home, and then the bragging rights game, as usual, on December 22nd, which is a Wednesday night this year, 8 p.m. game, and then they start conference play against Kentucky. So our non-conference is loaded. It's We're gonna find out real quick what kind of team we have. Central Michigan's a good start for that. Then they
Uh,
kind of have a little bit of a break with Kansas City, and then the Missouri Valley Conference foe Northern Illinois.
yeah, a lot of times with a non-conference schedule in college basketball, call it 13 games. That's give or take what a team is going to play most years. I think a lot of times you're looking at teams expecting to be like 10-3 or 11-2 going into conference play. I don't know that that's realistic for this Missouri team. And more than them not being good, it's just a loaded schedule. You know, I mean, you're talking about playing Kansas, who goes into the season ranked number 3, and bragging rights against Illinois, who's ranked 11. And that's before you look at any of the other just kind of random games. Potentially Florida State, SMU is going to be an interesting game, I think. You got Utah. Guys, yeah, it's going to be very, very challenging very quickly. So
Don't forget the Big 12 game this year against
yeah,
Iowa State up in the Coliseum. That's always going to be, especially at the Coliseum, it's always going to
Hilton
be a
Magic is
challenge.
a thing, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be on January the 29th. Kind of a break from SEC play for the SEC Big 12 Challenge there. And yeah, Iowa State has been down, but Hilton Coliseum, it's always a challenge.
So I will say this: what that does tell me this year is they're going to be prepared and they're going to be um, definitely at least used to the level of play going right into conference play. Uh, so because of that, I think they're going to be better prepared than some of the other SEC teams who might early on be struggling to get up to like Power Five play. But again, just with all the unknowns of what our team's going to look like, what our offense is going to look like, who knows?
Yeah,
I
I think a perfect example of what you're saying there could be potentially that the second conference game of the year against Mississippi State. I think there's potential for that to be a very competitive game in Columbia. Yeah, once the Tigers get into SEC play, it doesn't really get any easier. You're talking about opening up at Kentucky, who's ranked in the top 10. Now, in an exhibition, they struggled with Miles College, happened to catch a little bit of that, but it's still a top 10 Kentucky team. So that's going to be a challenge. And then you're looking at, in the first 4 games at Kentucky, home Mississippi State, home against number 14 Alabama, and then at number 16 Arkansas. This team could go 0-4 in the SEC and not be that bad.
Yeah, and especially with our new core of freshmen coming in, they're going to be developing throughout the season.
Oh,
They
yeah.
might be competitive in all those games. So, like, again, they might lose them, and they'll probably be predicted to lose them depending on how non-conference goes.
Right.
But with how how heavy front-loaded our non-conference season is, our freshmen might develop rather quickly, which could be a really good thing for the SEC season. If this team makes it to 20 wins, in my opinion, with how strong the non-conference schedule is, I think they have a shot of getting into the tournament with 20
Yeah.
wins.
Yes. A lot of times you look at, I think the kind of the benchmarks to be in the conversation for the NCAA tournament is 20 wins at a minimum, 500 in league play. That seems to be kind of standard most years. With this team and this schedule, if Missouri makes it to 20 wins, 20 and 12, plus any conference tournament games, and if they're 500 in the SEC, based on the difficulty of their schedule, they have to have beaten good teams to get to that point. I think they would be fairly safely in the tournament with a record like that, just based on the strength of schedule. That said, I don't think you can expect that. I don't think it's fair to expect that when you have 5 freshmen who have never played college basketball before, obviously, and basically an entire team of guys who are still getting to know each other. So I don't know how much you can expect out of this team. Honestly, I think the goal for this team needs to be 500 and an NIT invite. If you have that,
Yeah, if I had to,
you've got a solid base going forward.
yeah, if I had to predict for this season, I'd say 15, 16 wins, and they'll
Yeah.
knock a couple. They'll surprise a couple of teams just based off of the shooter's chance, if you will. Um, it sounds like from what I'm hearing in practices are it's still going to be kind of like last year's team where it's they're running up and down the court. There's a lot of size. Supposedly Jordan Wilmore is going to be getting some more minutes this year. He's lost some weight and looks more athletic and more manageable on the court with a 7-3 frame, which is a good sign too because they could definitely use him on the defensive side of the ball. Um, it's just going to be really interesting. In my opinion, I'm really curious to watch this team grow. Uh, Good core of freshmen. Who knows with the transfers coming in? As the team gels, what we see, who's going to be our true shooters, and everything else like that. The biggest thing Mizzou struggled with last year, and sounds like they're struggling with this year based off the scrimmages, is just jump shots.
Yeah.
Um, I would love to see an improvement on jump shots and behind the 3 point line. I don't know if we're going to get that. Again, it just depends on how our freshmen play, in my opinion.
Yeah. I want to see, honestly, I want to see drives into the lane and kickouts to Boogie Coleman. I want to see that. And I want to see, honestly, I want to find out, can he do that 42% shooting from three? Can he do that against the level of competition he'll be playing in the SEC and other high majors for the non-conference? I want to see, can he replicate that? Because let's face it, from Ball State and the MAC to what he's going to face now, it's going to be a step up.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be a learning process for this whole team. What they're going to do on offense, how they play with each other, what their roles are on the court. That's why you would like to see a couple cupcake games in the non-conference. In this case, we got 2 or 3. That's about it.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to learn real quick what their rules are and what they want to do on offense if they're going to play a run and gun. But it's definitely going to be a fun season, in my opinion, just with all the young guys and just how this team develops. Uh, I've been saying it all throughout the preview, but we have a good core of freshmen. And if you can continue to supplement them and get another decent class coming in the next couple of years, we could have a really good team coming down the stretch.
Yeah, I think that there's 2 takeaways really to take from anything that we've said. Is one, the team is just so brand new, basically, that expectations are just kind of predictions, thinking what you're going to see is kind of pointless. And the other takeaway is basketball season's here, guys. Buckle up. It's going to be fun, hopefully.
Yeah, if we have a winning record, especially by a decent amount by the end of November, um, we might have something fun to watch this year. Anyway, that's all we have for our preview. Stay tuned as the season progresses, and we'll do some more analyzing once we know more about the team.